Well, this is the final chapter, I see. Well, as long as there's not going to be a fifth one. Fine by me. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clayton Zoka. Welcome to another My Thoughts On. Today I'm going to do another requested film. This is by Liam_S. He's a person that I know from a Discord server. He requested 2 animated films for me to do, and I'm doing one of them today. He didn't comment it. He didn't comment these requests on my video, but since he did say, and they were from a server, so I'll let it slide. Guys, if you have anything that you want me to talk about, just go to the My Thoughts on Requests video. Look it up. If it's by me, you'll know it's the right one. Just go there, and if you have any more, edit your comment and put in as much as you want. Just don't spam the chat. Just edit the comment, and yeah. So, Liam wanted me to do Shrek Forever After. It is also known as the final film in the Shrek saga. And just like any sequel I do, mostly, I should probably say what I think of the other films. I love the first 2 Shreks. I think they're funny, I think they're original, I think they're clever, I think they are kind of ahead of its time, but I think they're instant classics and the best that DreamWorks has to offer. Shrek 3 I thought was kind of rubbish. Far from completely awful, but not good enough to be considered a worthy successor to Shrek 2. And now we're up to Shrek Forever After. This is considered by many to be the final film, if you don't count Puss in Boots. just like most of these films, in all honesty, I didn't see this film when it came out. I remember when it came out. To be honest, the only film that I remember seeing out of all of these films is Shrek 2 in the cinema. Maybe Shrek 3, but I do remember seeing Shrek 2. So, what is Shrek Forever After about? Okay, so Mike Myers returns as Shrek, and, Cameron Diaz, Fiona, yeah, So Shrek, he loves spending his day with his wife, Fiona, his 3 kids, Donkey and Puss, the gang. However, every day starts to become the exact same. Doing daily chores like changing nappies for the little ogres, and doing these other chores, and being seen as a attraction. A very humdrum, very dull day. However, after a bit of a mashup and a bit of a... actually a little similar to Wreck-It Ralph at Shrek's children's birthday party. Seriously. Did Disney look at that scene and decide to put that into Wreck-It Ralph? Only that film did it better. If you've seen this film and that film, you'll know what I'm talking about. After blowing it with Fiona, he wishes that the days where he was a real ogre, he wishes that he was a real ogre back then and be with his family. Because he doesn't want to do the same thing over and over again. However, this little man named Skillskin, voiced by Walt Durham, says he can give him a deal. For only 1 day, he can be a great ogre. However, it's only if he can give Rumpel something that he wants. And so Shrek signs the contract. And get this. This was the day that Shrek never existed. That's right, he picked a date well, Rumpel wanted him to pick a date any day for him to, well, to be an ogre. However, it's a day where he never was born, basically never existed. So Donkey, Puss, Fiona don't know who he is. And so he has to stop Rumpelstiltskin, while at the same time get a kiss from Fiona to not only break her curse, yeah, right, but also to get everyone back to normal, so they know who he is. And at the same time, he has to convince everyone, mostly Fiona, that he knows them. I'll give the film this. This is directed by Mike Mitchell, who actually did a good job with the SpongeBob SquarePants sequel, Sponge Out of Water, and the Lego Movie 2. He seems like a guy who's always up to direct a good sequel. And calling this a good sequel is rather debatable, but I will say this. It's better written, there's better comedy, there's actual high risks, there's good drama and good emotion. This film actually feels more like a Shrek sequel than Shrek 3, which feels like an obvious cash grab. And this also feels like a cash grab, but not as much. I mean, yeah, the first few minutes actually do a pretty good job of setting up who Rumpelstiltskin is, and yeah, it does open up like your typical run-of-the-mill sequel with a flashback that's before the first film, obviously, and we do have an idea of who Rumpel is, and the scene where Shrek gets really, really angry because people are often like asking him to get the cake and the do the roar thing. The scene that kind of makes him like a little out of character, where he blows it with Fiona. He wishes that, the days where he was an ogre was back. Just way before he rescued Fiona, which seemed very out of character. And I know he's very grumpy, stern, and a bit annoyed, but he's also likeable, clumsy, but he's a lovable, great ogre. But here, at first it's like, yeah, this doesn't seem like something that he would say to Fiona. It seems really mean and out of character. And this film, at times, and I never thought I'd say this, hold on, let me just take a quick drink. Because I'm going to say this. It reminded me of Ice Age 4. I mean, slightly better, but at times like Ice Age 4. In fact, this whole series feels like Ice Age. This is like what Ice Age is to Blue Sky. Manny is Shrek, Sid is Donkey, Diego is Puss, Fiona is Ellie, I guess Peaches is the children, and the rest of the characters like Crash and Eddie, the three little pigs, I guess, and I guess Buck could be considered Gingerbread Man. See what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is, but these two film franchises feel very, very similar, and it's a bit worrying. Anyways, back onto the film. As soon as Shrek enter into this new far, far away, and when I say new, I mean dystopian and torn, because Rumpelstiltskin is the king, the film actually starts to pick up from there. Shrek tries to figure out what he has to do to stop Rumpelstiltskin and get everyone back. When he finds these people that he thinks he knows, and he does, the way he tries to tell them that he is Shrek, and he tells them that, like, Donkey's married to a dragon, Fiona is his wife, and Puss... Well, there's not much with Puss in Boots, except for he used to be Puss in Boots, but now he's a fat cat. Stuff like that is really funny, and it does acknowledge... I do like it when sequels actually acknowledge the first film, although they don't mention Lord Farquaad, which is a bit strange. Or even Prince Charming, or Fairy Godmother for that matter. I mean, yes, they do acknowledge that she was locked up in a tower, obviously, And the scenes where Shrek tries to convince Fiona that he is her husband, and even the scenes where he tries to interact with her, is actually quite funny, dramatic, cute, and it's kind of nice to watch, I suppose. The scene does, I mean, scene. The film does have more dramatic moments that's actually very well handled than Shrek 3. Although I think the first Shrek, and I'll even say Shrek 2, did it better, but this one at least tried to bring in more emotion than just, oh, oh, fart joke, oh, poo poo jokes. Now, again, the comedy is much better with. I mean, most of the time I was thinking, this is funny, but I'll admit the humour does kind of go. It's more like been there, done that, and it is getting a little bit repetitive and tiresome. But I did laugh, especially with Rumpel, Shrek, Donkey, Puss, Fiona. A lot of these characters did make me at least watch, and I did want to see how this would end. And there's going to be a happy ending because it's a kids' film. But with a lot of these films, like Toy Story 4 and How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, you want to, what's going to happen, but you want to see how it ends, and that's the key in execution. And while I wouldn't say the plot is original or well executed, I'll say it did keep me interested. I did want to see what would happen to Rumpelstiltskin and these witches and these other characters. And if you're looking for something that's going to end the Shrek franchise, you're going to get exactly that with the ending. And I'll give the film credit with the ending credits. It does kind of recreate the feeling of the first film. If you've seen this film and the first film, the ending song, I'm a Believer from Smash Mouth. The scene where they show who plays who, who voices who, I don't know why, but it does kind of recapture what makes the first Shrek great, and the feel and the great, I don't know. It's a bit weird though, since they picked a song from the first film to put in the credits, technically again, but the ending does make it very satisfying that I think it should stay there. Well, I'll admit, I think it's better written, I think it's funnier, there's better emotion, and you actually have a reason to care about these characters, and it does keep you interested. Unfortunately, it's not quite the strongest in the franchise. Yes, it has good potential here, and it does pay off decently, but at the end of the day, we're just kind of tired with these characters. The humour, the adventures, we've all seen this before, but at least it ended off on a kind of high note. Animation. Now this is at the franchise's best. Not necessarily one of the best from DreamWorks, but in terms of the Shrek films, this is the best that the animation has to offer. It still visually looks wonderful, and the characters still look like themselves, and the backgrounds look fun and creative. However, the textures, the lighting, everyone actually starts to look a whole lot better. I mean, if you look back from 2001, that was like almost that was like a decade ago. If you compare to how Shrek and Donkey look in this film to the first film, you can tell that they look so much more different and more polished. All the characters that we know have better designs, except for maybe Gingerbread Man, who looks, well, the same really, but it is better animated than all of them, and I'll admit the first Shrek is still greatly animated, and while it has aged a little, I'll even say the same with 2 and 3, they do. DreamWorks still does a good job with the animation, but here, this is top notch. This is great animation. The new characters like Rumpelstiltskin, who wasn't he in the third film, and his design was a bit different. Or was it the second one? I don't know. A bit weird, but okay. The witches, his goose Fifi, The new locations they go to is actually a good change. Instead of just going to a forest or a castle, I mean, they do kind of do that, but thanks to the update on the animation, they do make it more interesting and more exciting. And the new characters look very interesting, like Rumpelstiltskin and his army of witches, and even the Piper too. And while I would say the animation in the third film is good, it's not something that we've seen before. It's nothing new. They just go to a forest, a high school, and a castle, and it makes the film still a visual treat, but nothing exciting or pleasing. This one takes the cake. At least they do something different and new with the animation, and at least it takes us on a nice journey. And when I say nice, I mean a nice looking journey. Yes, the animation is not quite the best from DreamWorks, but in terms of this franchise, it's certainly the better looking Shrek film. Characters and acting. Shrek is still kind of being himself, only a little less likable. I know he does get a bit angry and a bit bored with his daily life, but you're supposed to root for this character, you're supposed to like him. But the way he blows out with Fiona is just, that's out of character. And yes, he does change his tone a little bit when he tries to kiss Fiona. And the character is still just being himself, but it's just a few minutes of the film is like, yeah, I think he's being a little too unlikable. Donkey is still himself, and with the whole he doesn't know who Shrek is, it's quite funny because he's still Eddie Murphy and Donkey just being themselves. Puss is still funny. Fiona's actually probably the best character in the entire film, I think. Gingerbread Man, Pinocchio, Three Blind Mice, and the Three Little Piggies are just background comedy characters who are still funny, but they don't get much screen time, obviously. Who else? Oh, and the King, King Harold, and Fiona's mum, the Queen, both voiced by John Cleese and Julie Andrews, are just minor characters. They're not in the film for long, but yeah. Okay, so as for the new characters, you've got Rumpelstiltskin. And while I think he is a bit annoying and a bit tedious, he's still a pretty great villain. He has a reason as to why he wants to do this, even though it is very cliched. He's still funny and entertaining, and he is a good threat to Shrek. He's no Farquaad or Fairy Godmother. Even Prince Charming was a lot more funnier than him. He may be the weakest, but he's still a fun villain. As for the ogres, I'm actually surprised to say that they're just ogres. I mean, they're interesting, I guess, but they don't do much. They're kind of like... Actually, you know what? Actually, except for Ice Age, this film for some reason reminded me of Rio 2, where the gang meets up with the Blue Macaws in the Amazon. This feels like that, only with ogres in a How to Train Your Dragon style layer, you know? And a forest too. One of them's named Brogren, who's voiced by a kind of unrecognisable John Hamm, and I thought Minions was his first animated role. You got one named Gretchen, voiced by also another unrecognisable name, Jane Lynch. Craig Robinson is Cookie, who's like this big fat ogre. He does a pretty good job, and even other actresses like Lake Bell from Secret Life of Pets, Kristen Scar from Gravity Falls and Toy Story 3, 2-4 are in this. Holy crap, there's actually a lot more recognisable names than I thought. The characters they play are nothing memorable. The new ogres are just forgettable at best. But I know I've mentioned the voice acting. The voice acting's still great. Mike Myers, he's still funny. He's still Shrek. Eddie Murphy's, well, he's just hilarious, obviously. Antonio Banderas, Cameron Diaz, Walt Durham as Rumpelstiltskin. Everyone does a fantastic job, and they still have fun with their characters. They have fun voicing them. They do sound like they're genuinely, really getting into their roles, and that's great. The old characters are still just themselves, and while not much can be said new about them, they are still fun and interesting, and you still care about them. The new characters, except for Rumpelstiltskin, are not that interesting, but at least they're passable. And that's all I can say. The characters old are good. The new ones are kind of passable. On a side note, the score by Harry Gregson Williams is still beautiful as always. And I think it's probably the best score he's done in this entire series. Wow. Never thought I'd say this, but this was actually better than Shrek 3. I mean, it's not good, I wouldn't say it's great, but it's at least possible. Shrek Forever After actually kind of ends on a very nice note to end this whole series. The animation is greatly improved, the characters, old, are still just being themselves, the voice acting's fantastic, the music's beautiful, it has a better structured story, with better humour, better heart, it's more intense and entertaining, and you want to see how it all ends. It's still well done. However, the humour can be a little bit tiresome at times. The animation at times can look a little off-putting and a bit PlayStation 4-y, graphicsy. The new characters don't really do much and are not very interesting. And, well, it's very cliched. However, if you're looking for a good Shrek film, or a passable one, I recommend, well, the first two are amazing, I do recommend those. If you're looking for something other than them, I recommend this one. Don't bother with Shrek 3, I definitely say you can pass on that one. This film, while not good, I can definitely say is better than Shrek 3. Shrek 3 should have never existed. This should have been called, like, the actual Shrek 3. Rating. I know it's higher than Shrek 3, but what should I give it? Excuse me. I'm going to give it a 6.8 out of 10. Not good, but I'm actually glad I watched it. It's slightly better than Home and Boss Baby, and it's I mean, I gave the same rating to Flushed Away, but I actually kind of enjoyed this a little more than that. But again, not good, but just passable. So yeah, Shrek Forever After. Now you're all probably wondering, what about Puss in Boots? I will do that at some point, just not today. So yeah, if you have seen Shrek, I was going to say Shrek 3. No, Shrek Forever After. What do you think of it? Is it good, bad, decent? Do you want to see it? Let me know below. And I don't know what I'm going to do next for the next my thoughts on. I'll just keep it as a surprise. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And until next time, somebody wants